How you doing? How you doing? And how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Petty, and we're a little sad today. So we took yesterday to try and install a brand new game on our computer. It was a big, beefy game at over 90 gigabytes. And it took all day. I literally didn't get to play any video games after work yesterday because I just had to let my computer install that if we were going to take a look at it today. So I took a night off of gaming. And didn't do us any good. And real quick, before we finish that story, let's take a fast look at what we're missing. Is it space battles? Is it fighting Gundams? It's Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, and this is a really, really interesting story. And for those of you unfamiliar with the Phantasy Star Online IP, it's been around a while. I honestly think it was one of the first games that I ever played online with other people, way back in Dreamcast days, okay? We're talking almost pure dinosaur stuff. And it hit an almost nostalgic edge to know that not only is this IP still alive and doing well, but they did just one of the most ambitious things that I think an MMO has ever done. If you're not familiar with it, Phantasy Star Online 2 has been around since 2011, 2013. It's a game with a little bit of age on it. And essentially what they did with New Genesis is revamp everything. They time skip 1,000 years into the future. It's basically a brand new game. Upgraded engine, graphics. Like, it just looks pretty. But they run into some issues, and that's the other thing we're going to talk about today. So real quick, the rest of the story is that unfortunately, with them upgrading the system to the level that they did, there's some new system requirements that might bully a good number of people. I myself was today bullied. We spent about an hour trying to figure out if there was a way to get this to work. There's some stuff with Intel where you can essentially run a developer's toolkit and have it emulate certain architectures when it comes to CPUs. That's really common in the VR world. Those guys will sometimes have to do some little crazy stuff like that to get certain things to run, but unfortunately this game requires AVX, and there ain't no way faking that. At least no way that I found successfully within an hour. And I mean, we got to get a video out today, so this is the situation that we're in. So one of the other things that I did real quick after realizing that we weren't up to par and weren't going to be able to play this was use PCPartPicker.com, put in information for what some of the hardware that I'm using, and found that I should be able to switch over to a Ryzen 5. It's going to cost your boy about $200, but that is something that I should be able to pull off within the next week or two. So we will eventually be coming to take a look at this. And one of the added benefits of switching to a CPU that has AVX is that is an architecture that is being used a lot right now in a lot of VR apps and virtualization stuff. Also like running virtual machines on your computers. So emulators and stuff like that are starting to use it heavily. So it's a good thing to get that support in my system anyway. So give your boy a little bit of time and we'll try and get something new, nice and shiny in here so that we can actually check out this game. But there's a few things also going on with it, just a little bit of a fire. So we're going to take a look at that and talk about what's going on, because they're having a little bit of a rough launch. This game literally went live just a couple of days ago. And again, one of the most ambitious things that an MMO has done, almost reminiscent of A Realm Reborn. But this wasn't a dead game before they did this. They were doing fine. They did not need to take their game out on a real nice date and really work on their relationship like this. Like, it's kind of impressive. But they're running into a lot of issues off the start. One of the main things that you'll see in a lot of the reviews, if you go and pull these up yourself, is there is a good amount of server issues, to the point to where it is largely unplayable for, judging by this spread right here, about half the people in the game. And even if you go and look at some of the positive reviews, a lot of them mention the server issues. And a lot of these players understand that when you have a, brand new MMO or really any online game launching, there's gonna be some issues at the very start. So I know that this is difficult for a lot of people to understand. Like, how is it that hard to have a working network in place? Well, it's something that you can't really test. Like, a lot of beta testing and internal testing will only give you so much of an idea of how your hardware is going to match up, how your network is going to match up. It is very, very, very rare that there aren't some kind of hiccups at the start of these games. That is almost always going to be the case because of the limitations of A, technology, and B, the ability to test that technology inside a closed environment versus when it is absolutely 100% live. You are almost always going to see this. And I think it's important to note that even though we're only seeing a 50% split on the positive and negative reviews right now, a lot of these people are recognizing that, like, yeah, there's some server problems, but they're more understanding of it than a portion of these people. Obviously, another portion of a lot of these mixed reviews is people that are going to play it that are able to play a lot of games right now on high settings, but because their CPU doesn't support the AVX infrastructure, you're done. There's literally nothing that you can do. So there's a lot of frustrations from players that are upset at the forced requirements, and you essentially have to have a CPU that was released in the last 5 to 6 years. Mine was released in 2011. You might be asking yourself, well, is that it, bro? Is it just, people upset about the system requirements and people that don't understand any online game is going to have issues in its first couple of days? No, not exactly. There's a couple other things that are coming up consistently in these reviews. First one being that it is a very bare game at the moment. Unfortunately, because of how much was changed and revamped, this is a brand new game, and there is very little to do in it outside of just kind of trying to grind your power up. There's couple of people mentioned that you get about 9 to 10 hours into the game, and then you basically are hit with something that is kind of like what we saw in Anthem of like, oh hey, just your quest is to just get your power level up, bro. Okay, you do that, and then 2 quests later it's like, all right, just get your power up level again, man. So while the game and the combat is very fun, there is just that very shallow depth to the playability to the game right now, which I don't know if you guys remember how Anthem launched. People were big mad that they made a great system and then no game to the rest of it. Like, it's great that we can do all these amazing things, but you gave us nothing to do. And that's a little bit where this is coming on. Now, they just launched. They completely rebuilt their stuff from the ground up. So I have mixed feelings about being like, well, you should have had more. I kind of get it. And the remainder of the pissed off parade is essentially that a lot of things were removed from Phantasy Star Online 2 that made it free-to-play friendly, where there was ways for free-to-play players to grind out currency so that they were able to do things like get the battle passes and other stuff like that. And that has seemingly been completely removed for New Genesis. So a lot of players are upset that there is a heavier push to pay to win, and that those systems that existed in the game for years were kind of just quietly taken out. Now, again, this is one of those situations of they did a lot. They did a lot that I'm sure was very expensive, so I'm sure they need to try and recoup some money, but this was kind of the cheap way to do it, so I can understand why people are being mad. If you want to make more money, you could potentially add more things to buy or expand those systems a little bit, hopefully without making them insanely pay to win. Maybe just make your cosmetics super crazy, but that takes design time, that takes a lot of development in and of itself, so that's a little harder to make up the difference for there. But it's hard to justify removing systems that have been in your game. Since you put that in the game, you kind of need to lie in that bed and hope that you make enough off of other microtransactions in the game to recoup that money. And if you did an amazing job rebuilding everything, trust me, people are going to throw their money at you. But removing systems that you already have is never going to be a good look, especially if that tilts the balance for free to play and pay to win. So personally, I'm kind of a little glad that it's going to take me a week or two to be able to get set up to even try this game. Because it definitely looks like one of those things that if you want to have the most positive experience, give it a week or two and check it out casually. With it being a newer game, we're obviously going to have to wait a little while to see what they kind of add and start building on in the game. And again, I'll be excited to come back in a couple of weeks when I have the hardware that will support the game. And hopefully they have worked out all of their server issues. Again, we're in the first couple of days of it being live, so this is unfortunately super common, and I'm hoping to see once that levels out that the community probably will bounce back a little bit. But our boys are off to a rocky start out here, and I'm grateful that it'll take a little while before I get to join in the fray, because some of these issues may be worked out. And hopefully, if the community is vocal enough about some of the changes to the microtransactions and being able to buy battle passes and grind that out as a free-to-play, hopefully we'll get some information on that and they will say something and respond, because that is one of the most common things in these reviews. Alright guys, thank you so much for stopping by today. I really appreciate them faces. We're probably going to be doing a Soul Worker video tomorrow. We are waiting for that to install as we're recording this. Ha-cha-cha-cha. So, yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to circle back to this and it be a much more positive video. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. Let me know if you guys have checked this out yet and what your opinions are. And you're going to have to catch your boy in the next one, because we're out of here. Deuces.